Welcome, everybody. Our goal with these webinars hosted by Callings is to bring you the very best professionals who can help talk about the experience of job hunting and career transitioning. And Renata is one of the very best worldwide, and so we're thrilled to work with her. And she's going to talk today about ageism, and it's a thing, as they say. And so we're excited to hear what she has to say and to get her guidance. So toward the end, I'm happy to show you a few tools that might help you as you do your job hunt. But uh, the floor is yours, Renata.
Thank you. Thank you, Garrett. I think, is it the third time? The third time that I do a presentation here for Callings.ai. So I'm very excited. It's always great. There's always a big crowd, lots of interesting questions in the meeting chat, and lots of new followers on my newsletter and my LinkedIn as well. So I thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to talk to your community. I want to just remind us what we're doing here. In case we have some younger people in the crowd, that's totally fine. But most of my followers and my subscribers, and of course my clients, are 40 and above. I'd say even older than 40. I would say late 40s, 50s. My oldest client was 71, 69 when he started working with me. But I have a couple of clients, in their late 60s, and I love working with those clients. It gives me so much information. I mean, they're so wise, so experienced. There's so much that we can do together. And some of them are in the middle of their career, some are in the tail end, but still want to be productive and do part-time jobs or consulting gigs and so forth. So that's what I enjoy doing. In the end, we will have opportunities for Q&A, Garrett. I hope so.
We will, and there's also the Q&A feature in Zoom. So if you have questions that you
Oh, okay.
have, we won't take questions during the presentation, but we will. I'll try and answer the ones I can while you're presenting, and then we can address those questions in the Q&A, which is down in the toolbar of your Zoom application.
Okay, okay. Oh, yeah, I can see there
Yeah.
the Q&A. So I'm
And I'll
gonna
try
really
and
go.
try and watch the chat as well and see if
Mhm.
there's things I can do in there. But the Q&A is the best place to put in questions if you have them.
Awesome. For those, there are some people here that know me and are joining today. That's excellent. For those who don't know me, I'm an executive and career coach. I'm based in Melbourne. For now, I spend a lot of time overseas. I'm about to be in Europe for 3.5 months. I, like I said, most of my clients are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. I have a newsletter that I send out weekly to my clients, and I have a podcast called the Job Hunting Podcast. I'm going to put the name here for you to go have a listen if you're interested in listening to me more. So the podcast used to be weekly up until early this year. I decided to now do it every 2 weeks because I have over 300 episodes. So there's a huge, huge archive of things that you can listen to. And I think that there's more than enough there to cater for so many of the topics and questions and issues that you have as you're developing your career, job hunting, and so forth. Another question that I get a lot, especially after doing sessions for you, Garrett, is, oh, you're in Australia, but I'm in the US. Most of my clients are in the US because of the podcast. So most of my listenership is Americans, and I also have clients in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, and of course Australia, New Zealand. But it's almost more than 50-50 now in terms of Australia and rest of the world. And also because I spend so much time overseas, from this year onwards, I would say will be more like 50-50 in terms of time working in Australia and time working overseas. I work for myself, so I have this sort of wonderful opportunity of being able to coach and do my podcast from anywhere. Before I did that, I was also a job seeker, very ambitious corporate professional, sometimes, not so successful, sometimes learning it the hard way. I always knew I wanted to be doing this sort of counseling and career coaching in the future. So I took lots of notes and started creating my framework very early on. I would say I started creating my content and the things that I teach my clients, my modules inside my courses and frameworks back in 2008. So it's been a long time sort of reworking all of that as years go by because things have changed so much, but at least I have that foundation that goes back years. Today we're going to work with the concept of ageism. Liv, I can see that you have your hand up, but ideally, if you have a question, please add them to the Q&A, and we will read them later and answer them later if that's okay. Is that right, Garrett? I don't think we
That's
have
correct.
any.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Liv doesn't even know that her hand is up.
There's there's
Sometimes.
there's simply too many people on the webinar for us to open
Yeah,
up a Q&A. It'll be mayhem. So if you put the
that's
questions in the Q&A, if your window is not wide enough, the Q&A will fall into the more menu at the bottom
yeah.
of your window.
We already have a great question there from Mara, which I hope that we can tackle in time. But Mara, maybe we will have some of these answers here for you with the slides. So let's go through the slides first. How to reframe age as a strategic asset. You are an expert. You've worked for so long. We need to find ways to make that translatable to today's job market and the way that recruiters work today, which might be different from the way that they were working 6, 10, 15 years ago. Also looking at specific updates for job seekers that are 40 and above that they should make to elevate the language that they explain their expertise, their professional and executive presence. Practical ways mid-career professionals can use AI. I mean, if you're here, you're halfway there because if you're already, signed up for Callings.ai or interested to know a little bit more about it, that's the sort of mentality, mindset that you need to have these days in order to look for work. A simple weekly job search routine. I think this is really important for people my age. I'm 54, by the way. I'm about to become a grandmother. That's why I'm spending so much time in the UK now. It's because that's where my son lives, and my grandson is coming in April. So I'm super excited about that. But just maintaining either a job search routine or a work routine that allows you to also care for others, have more of the lifestyle that we crave at my age, and let me know with a little thumbs up or comments if you're in that situation. And there's Cindy, who is also 54. Isn't it a great age? Oh, I love it. Common mindset. I mean, there's a little bit of health issues there, I'm not going to lie, but other than that, I really do like it. Common mindset traps. This is really important because if you're my age and Cindy's age, you are in Generation X. And there are certain things that we have acquired over the course of our lives during our education, in the 70s and 80s, that are completely out of whack with the current work environment, the current way of presenting to recruiters and being out there in the world. So we're going to look into that. Okay, Swapna, I didn't understand what you asked, so if you can rewrite that. I don't know what you mean there. Okay.
Renata, by the
Congratulations.
way, I cannot see the Q&A now, so only you can see that.
Oh, okay. No, I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the
Oh, okay.
chat. I haven't looked at the Q&A yet.
Okay.
And by the way, if you want to ask something, but you're a little bit awkward about it, you can ask anonymously. There's anonymous question already in the Q&A. So that's really good. Any grandparents in the audience, please let me know what to expect because I'm a little bit all over the place at the moment, not really knowing what to do, what my responsibilities are. Okay. So how to reframe age as strategic asset and translate decades of experience into the kind of business value language that hiring managers respond to. I would really love to know from you if you have trouble with that. I was just with a client in Florida, and we were discussing exactly this issue. This is a client who hasn't really looked for work ever because he was stepped on the shoulders up until now. Um, and haven't had to have that effort, to look for a job on his own without advocates, without a headhunter tapping him on the shoulder. He doesn't know how to translate that experience that people that already know him know about him, but people that don't know him need to know if he wants to continue to accelerate his career under his control, not reacting to what comes his way, but taking ownership and taking the wheel of his career from now on. I feel that if you're 40 and above, you start feeling like that, like it's time for me to take control. If there are things in my bucket list that I still want to achieve, I need to take control. I can't just sit and wait for people to tap me on the shoulder anymore. And then you come to the realization you don't know how to talk about yourself. So this is really something important. So there are some things that I have noticed, over the years. I started coaching full time in 2000, not full time. I started coaching period in 2016. I was still working, but I had a side hobby which my employer allowed me to do, which was coaching. And now I've been coaching full time since 2021. And so some patterns start to come in their sort of, something that over time they're not just anecdotal. I can see real samples of large numbers of people with similar problems. And it starts with things like fonts, just choosing the right font for your resume is so important. If you're using a Times New Roman style font, that's already aging you as a candidate. Garrett, do you agree with me, or am I being too picky? I'm really picky about fonts.
I think people are looking for all sorts of cues,
Yes,
you
that's
know,
those
and
those
I
are
hadn't thought of the
really
font one, but they're, the hiring managers and the recruiters are looking to weed out. That's the first task that they do. So they're looking for any
yeah,
excuse to weed out because they're getting so many applications now for every job. And so the
yeah.
first process is to survive the weed out. Then you can be
Yes,
discovered. So your font issue may be right.
yeah. Arial, Denise had Arial font. I agree. Arial font is great. And fonts that are similar to Arial, like Calibri, is great. If you have like a real font fetish like I do and you love Helvetica, just be careful with fonts that don't exist in all computers. So if you're a Mac user, you might have access to Helvetica. And because I'm a PC user, I don't, which is a real pain for me. So choose fonts that are available everywhere. Usually Calibri and Arial are great, easy to use, simple. They look more modern than the Times New Romans. And little things and little clues like that, even the type of email that you have. I'm a big fan of just the gmail.com, super simple. Just be careful with how you present yourself. For example, people that have a family email, I have a friend that has, let's say her name is Mary and her surname is Smith. And so it's smithfamily@gmail.com. That's not your email. That cannot be the email you use for job hunting. An email that has your name plus your year of birth. You cannot have those things. And those are things that only people that are Gen X does wrong. I think that the younger generation are much better at presenting themselves in this sort of techie format. So those are really sort of little details that I think matter for recruiters. Sometimes I feel like my clients are very fearful of the number of pages in their resumes. They think that they need to present in one page. It makes it so hard for them to present well. Whereas when I talk to headhunters and recruiters, they're like, no, if you're 50, we don't expect you to have a one-page resume. We expect you to have two, sometimes even three. So I want you to really reconsider that and have more confidence in yourself and in the content that you are providing there. The content needs to be really spot on for the recruiters, not for you. It's, um, if there are any academics here, then please disregard this. Academics have very, very long CVs, and that's part of the culture of that sector in academia. But for most of us, two-page resume, sometimes even three-page is fine. Um, Garrett, what do you think? How is Callings.ai? What's the output of the resume in your platform?
Yeah, in our platform, one of the things that we do is we convert resumes into single column rich text format resumes. Interestingly enough, I believe
Yeah,
we use Helvetica as our font, not Times Roman. And we do that for a very specific reason, which is a lot of these new applicant tracking systems. If you have a complex formatted resume, they'll garble the data and you'll be
yeah,
rejected.
yeah.
So as much as you spend a lot of time making it beautiful, sometimes um, it can't decipher that, especially if you have
Mm,
tables, graphics, those types of things. And so you can use your resume, but we also develop for you a very simple, rich text format resume. And in terms of length, um, I think in the US, anything over 2 pages is considered a bit much unless you're an academic or a specialty. Though I've
mm,
heard in other countries it's the opposite.
yeah,
For example, I've heard from folks that worked at the United Nations, actually when working with you, that in
yeah,
some of the geos that they're in, it's expected that you have a very detailed, long resume. And so I think some of this is cultural and based on what country and area you're in. Um, but uh, but for us, the first thing is most jobs, unless you're applying directly with the hiring manager, you're going through a gatekeeper, which is these technical systems, applicant tracking systems. So our first goal is to just provide a resume that gets through those. But we try and keep it to 2 pages or less, unless they really have a lot of stuff. Um,
yeah.
and I wanted to
What
mention
I
too
have
around
noticed,
around
yeah,
the email issue. I've heard, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that if you have like an AOL resume or a Hotmail resume or some of these older domain services, that says old. And
yes, it
so,
does. Yeah,
so you mentioned Gmail. That's
absolutely.
probably a legit way to go.
Yeah, I think Gmail is pretty safe for the Apple one. I think it's me.com. It's pretty safe, but those old emails really do age you, in the way that you create your name in them as well. When I say create a longer resume, I don't mean that you should send that longer resume. I don't think it should be one page. I think the ATS will not be able to read enough information in that one page. And what you will do is try to compress too much information and maybe create some tables there that makes it harder for the ATS to read anyway. But I think 2 pages for US market is great, but make it as long as necessary as your master document, so that you can have as much information, and then you remove the dot points and the achievements that are not aligned with that specific role that you're applying for. So you make a reduced version every time that you send it out. Does that make sense, Garrett? Hmm.
I agree.
So I
Yep.
I find when I'm doing group coaching programs, and I have when I do group coaching, I usually have some Australians and some people from America and so forth. I tell the American people, just follow the lead from the UK members and the Australian members of the group. Make a longer resume, and then whenever you're sending it, make sure that you do it in 2 pages, and avoid those templates that you find on Word. So a lot of people go to Word, and then there's some old templates there. Those templates are horrible. They're not ATS friendly. I mean, just go to Callings.ai and just pull out the resume from there. You're much safer than using templates you find on Canva. They're horrible unless you're applying for a job at Canva. The other day I was talking to a girl, and she said, "Oh, I just got a job at Canva." Oh no, I just got a job using Canva templates, and you always say in your podcast, don't use Canva templates. I'm like, great. Where did you get a job? Oh, at Canva. I'm like, okay. If you're applying at Canva. So then you use the Canva template. Anywhere else, do not use the Canva template. And I'm like, I think that's pretty straightforward. Um, the other thing is the fear of LinkedIn, right? So understand that LinkedIn has three platforms. The one that you and I use is the B2C platform. It's the one that we network with other people. There's then a platform for recruiters and a platform for sales professionals. The platform for recruiters is an important tool, a very important tool for HR departments and recruiters. That's where they advertise roles. That's where they find people, and they use it to find you. So optimizing your profile is so important, and it's optimizing not for the human eye. It's optimizing it for searchability. If you work with your marketing team, or if you work in marketing, and you understand how websites need to be created now, for years now, so that it's SEO optimized. This is the sort of work that somebody like me will do for you if you decide to book a LinkedIn audit with me. And this is really important, right? And I think a lot of people misunderstand the power of LinkedIn when it comes to the new modern ways of recruitment and selection, where the recruiters don't actually need to advertise the roles. They do still advertise the role, and they will for a long time, but they can start looking for candidates way before they advertise the role. They start looking for candidates when they're still locking in the client, when they're still trying to get the assignment locked in. And they do that with their CRMs, which they already have from previous applicants and so forth. And they do that with LinkedIn searches, right? So you being there, your face being able to be seen, and you make it public. You have an about section, and you have a headline, and you have the job titles. Nothing is misspelled. Um, Information under each of the roles. All of that is giving content and keywords to help people find you. Allocating skills to every job that you've done, allocating skills to your about section. You can allocate 5. And there's something quite hidden on LinkedIn called industry. So if you go to that first box at the top, and you click the little pencil, just scroll down a little bit, and you will find that you can choose your industry. So for example, when I left my last job, I was working at a large university here in Australia. I had industry listed as education. And for a year after leaving that job, it was still education when I was in fact already consulting, and I should have changed that. And that affects the LinkedIn searches. So anyone is aware of industry, let me know in the chat, because usually when I talk about this, people have no idea what I'm talking about. Um, so all of that is important. And finally, just knowing your salary. Knowing your salary. I know a lot of career coaches go on LinkedIn and say, oh, you have to refer that information, that question back to them. And I'm like, no, you have to know how much you're worth, right? If you don't know that, you haven't done your research. I'm sorry, I'm going to die on that hill. There are a few hills that I'm willing to die, and that's one of them. You have to be aware of how much you're worth, how much that sector pays you, how much that industry pays you in the part of the world that you're in, knowing that if you were working in New York, it's different, than Boston, it's different than Dallas, it's different than, a small town in another state, or it's just different in Canada. So you need to kind of find it out. And there are ways of finding it out. Reddit, Glassdoor, Indeed, they all publish salary reports, and asking people. We need to stop with this idea that we cannot talk about money with others, because it doesn't help any of us. It only helps your employer. Us not telling each other how much we earn, not sort of knowing how much we're worth, does not help us at all. It just helps the employer. They have the upper hand in negotiating salaries with you. If you're interested in salary negotiations, I have interviewed an expert maybe a year ago. It's on the podcast. The best way to search old episodes is to go to my website, the job hunting podcast.com, and just use the search engine to search for whatever word you're interested in, and there will be episodes about that, I promise you. And if there aren't, just let me know. I find it hard to believe, but I'd love to do a new one for you. Then we need to think of practical ways. Mid-career professionals can use tools like Callings.ai and other AI tools as your behind the scenes assistant while you keep your own voice. Avoid, by all means, avoid being generic. Avoid sounding like an AI. Avoid sounding like ChatGPT. If you go on LinkedIn now, you will see that a lot of the posts are written by ChatGPT. A lot of the comments are written by ChatGPT. And why would you do that? Like, I really want you to sort of have your own unique voice. AI is so good. Callings.ai is so good at helping you create your documents. It is, but it only does that well if your input into Callings.ai is much bigger than your output. So when I tested Callings.ai, Garrett sent me the link, and I wish I could show it. Like, I have added so much information under each of those questions. It has a questionnaire and it asks you lots of questions. And the key for you to use AI is to give AI as much information as you can about what you want to achieve, the sort of jobs you like to do, the sort of things that you're good at, what people know you by, the sort of roles you want to do, the salaries, everything. The questionnaire was awesome, Edward. I agree. The questionnaire is so helpful to you because sometimes you forget how good you are, and you're sort of so involved with the rat race of day in, day out challenges and urgent things that you have to do that you forget. Sometimes I'm talking to clients, and all of a sudden it triggers them to think about an amazing project that they've done 10 years ago that I did not see in their resume, that it's not in their LinkedIn. And it's such an important project, but they just forgot about it. They only remembered because of something we were talking about. You cannot be in that situation when you are in a competition like recruitment and selection processes. You have to have those resources available to you. So doing that questionnaire inside the platform will help you trigger your long-term memory and shift those memories into short-term memory. Okay, so that is the best way, and not to sound generic. And you probably know what I mean. There are some phrases, especially if you use ChatGPT, that just sounds like you read them on LinkedIn and you just know that it was written by ChatGPT. So you want to avoid them, reword them, make sure that you have your own voice there. If you have a job where you've created a lot of content, you've written articles or reports or presentations, you can attach those to AI, and so that they can get a feel from how you sound, and then recycle that material into posts, into a cover letter, into dot points for your resume. So that is a good way of getting LinkedIn, getting ChatGPT to kind of understand how you sound like when you're talking about your work. A simple weekly job search routine tailored to older professionals who may be juggling caregiving, longer unemployment, or burnout from previous layoffs. Now, I'm very lucky that I work for myself. I don't know how I could do the things that I do now if I was working full time for an employer, because I need to care for my parents in Brazil. So I'm there at least once a year and I spend a month with them, if not more. Then now I'm going to the UK. I've been going for the UK and staying there, working from the UK for 3-4 months. So I have a lot of flexibility, and a lot of people want that now. They want that flexibility when they're looking for jobs. They want hybrid work, they want remote work. Especially in the US, it's becoming harder and harder. Employers in the US are really conservative about that all of a sudden, which is a pity, because it really has been proven now that for most workplace environments, it does not really affect performance. In fact, you can work really well remotely for most of the types of jobs out there. Um, so I want you to sort of think about a routine that suits your job seeking. I'm assuming a lot of you here today, we have 100 and almost 150 people. A lot of you are looking for work and potentially unemployed. So job hunting can be done full time, right? But full time job hunting is not about sending 100 applications per week. It's an ecosystem of things that you have to do, right? It has a holistic approach to it. It's like if you were a boxer and I'm thinking of Sylvester Stallone here, and you were going into a competition, and everything you do to compete is go and practice inside the ring, just punching, 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 punching. That's it. You do nothing else. Now that doesn't work. You have to go to the gym. You have to go for a run. You have to sleep. You have to eat well. You have to meditate, and visualize you winning this competition. You have to talk to mentors and ask them, how they won their competitions. That is all part of job hunting as well. I know you don't think of yourself as a boxer or a tennis player, but it's exactly like that. You don't see your competition, which kind of tricks your mind to think that you're the only one applying for that job and you deserve it more than others. No, when you get to the tail end of the process, you're all pretty awesome. It's very hard to make a choice. When you are at the beginning of the process, the way for you to stand out is to do those exercises that I explained to you before and to change the cues about you with your email account, with your font, with a good template for your resume, with a LinkedIn. That's how you progress and overcome the first bottlenecks. And then the final bottlenecks is really about mindset. There is a series on Netflix called Point Break. I always think it's Break Point, which is a movie that I love, but let's forget about that. It's Point Break. And I want you to watch a few episodes so that you can see the final of, let's say, the Australian Open or the US Open, where you have two amazing tennis players, almost the same age, almost the same height, same level of expertise, playing against each other, but one has this great mindset, a great coach, like a coach for the tennis and a mindset coach. The other one has just, been in the news for all the wrong reasons, broke up with his girlfriend, and guess who wins, right? So that is a really important thing for us to remember, that there is body language and narrative and tone of voice that will showcase how confident you are about your skills, how confident you are about applying for that role, that will be there as an energy in the room when you're being interviewed. And all of that is part of the process of job seeking. The thing about job hunting as well is that you can do it part-time. You can do it a light version of it if you're currently working. But what you need to do is to remember that you need to kind of carve out a routine and stick to it, because you will be motivated for 2 days and then you will fall off the wagon. Okay. You will be, like on a weekend, you will browse LinkedIn jobs or Indeed, find a great job, think, oh my God, I'm going to apply for this. And then you apply and then you hear nothing because you didn't prepare your application properly. You didn't have, you didn't do the pre-work that I'm asking you to do. You hear nothing and then you fall off the wagon and you're like, oh, this is too hard, I'm too old or whatever. You come up with lots of external factors or internal factors blaming either you or the environment for the reason why they didn't call you. So that consistency and the roller coaster of emotions that Edward has just mentioned in the chat, that's exactly the situation here. You have to build a routine. It's really, really important. And then there's this common, Garrett, am I talking for too long? You tell me when it's time for me to wrap
No,
it up.
no, not at all. I need
Okay.
maybe 10 minutes at the end and I'll show
Oh,
some
really?
tactical
Okay.
tools that they can use to take action on these things, but you're doing
Okay.
you're good. You're good on time.
Okay. All right. So let me talk to you all about recent sort of things that have come to my mind recently about, you know, Gen X, ageism, job searching. My clients who are all about my age, we grew up in the 70s and 80s, right? That's why I love Stranger Things so much, because I look at those kids and that was me. Like those kids would be my age now. If you like Stranger Things, please let me know because I can talk about Stranger Things forever. But we grew up in a generation where we had to do everything ourselves. We had to be tough. You know, we had to be independent. We had to deal with the bullies. We had to figure out everything ourselves. You know, we are still like that. It's kind of part of our DNA to be reluctant to invest in yourself, to prefer low risk, low reward opportunities, um, to do sort of random courses or courses that everybody is doing, and have no strategic direction. Because frankly, the world was, I remember being young and thinking the world was going to end in year 2000. So I'm like, I'm on a bonus life right now, right? So I think that that's kind of still part of our psyche. You know, it's part of what's underplaying, you know, behind the reasons why we find it so hard to create content and promote ourselves on LinkedIn, to pitch ourselves, to reach out and network. I mean, I see younger professionals, you know, like my kids are early 30s, late 20s, and I think that it's so much easier for them to just be bold. Am I right? If you have kids that age, please let me know. If you are that age, please let me know. I just find that so freeing, you know. And so, and they are the recruiters, by the way. The first bottleneck after the bots is a 20-something-year-old, usually female person who has a bachelor in business and specialized in HR. And HR is usually, you know, a career that a lot of women tend to do. So that is your first, that is what we call here in Australia your first toe cutter, right? So that person will be assessing your application. If you used words that are too sophisticated for that young professional, they may not understand. If you don't do the dotted line between the job that's been advertised and your resume, they won't read it and they won't try to find all the symbolisms and all the little minutiae and the detail in your application that makes you so great. They want this fast information to be chewed up and delivered to them. You have to do that for them. So this is really important for us, you know, because we are very highbrow as a generation. And I want you to sort of reframe that, because the job market doesn't reward that private competence, that stoicism that is part of Generation X um, psyche. They reward proof, they reward clarity, they reward signals, and those signals are usually, especially for job seekers and corporate professionals, on your LinkedIn profile. And if you don't have it there, then you're missing out. And some people say, oh, you know, I don't need LinkedIn. Good for you. You know, if you don't need it, great. You know, that I would love not to need social media and LinkedIn to promote my business. I can't afford that. Right? People will never find me if I don't have LinkedIn, if I don't have a podcast, if I don't put myself out there. So it's something that comes with the territory of being a white collar worker. So that's something that if you want to have a decade or two ahead of you, you need to sort of start adapting, you know, using AI, using LinkedIn, promoting yourself, being comfortable, remembering that if you're asking for help, you know, if you're reaching out to your network and having connections, it's not neediness, it's strategy. If you're advocating and publicizing your achievements, it's not ego, it's communication, right? If you need to learn something, it's not because there's a weakness there or because you need to do a course so that you can add it to your resume. No, you need to build evidence that you can adapt fast. And building evidence, especially during that job search period, is really important. It's crystallizing the learnings from your career. So if you've been doing project management for years, but you've never had a certification, if you understand all the ins and outs of agile and all the sort of important things that are part of transformation and project management, change management. Whereas when you lose your job, job that you may have had for 10 years, the way that the person that does not know you will understand that is through the certifications, through qualifications. So those are worth investing in. So all of those sort of things is important to remember if you want to have a sustainable ongoing career for another decade or two. What is it that you need to crystallize from your learnings, from the experience that you have, so that it becomes keywords in the system for the bots to find you, for the young professional in HR or recruitment to put you in the yes pile. Okay. So many comments. Oh my gosh. Garrett, I really need to have access to these comments later. So make
Okay.
sure that I have access to them. Before I go to Q&A, I just wanted to sort of show you who my clients are so that you can have a sense of where I get all of these ideas from. So most of my clients, like I said, are in, this is from last year, by the way, and these are clients and listeners and people that have attended webinars that I have organized. So when they book, I ask them to answer a few questions. I mean, it's not, most people do, even though it's not compulsory. But I just wanted to show you where I get the ideas from so that you, if you don't, I mean, I hope that it's resonating with you. Most of the people are not employed. 40% are employed and looking. Others are lost their jobs or they've been out for quite some time. So I have worked with people that have been away from employment for 4 years, for 7 years. So that also happens. And this is very interesting to me how often you apply for jobs. And if I'm talking to somebody that has just been unemployed or somebody that all of a sudden decides they want a job, they might be doing dozens of applications a week and then they slowly can't keep that up, right? Because that's hard. So that's again that idea of building a routine that's sustainable and hopefully incremental is really important to me. But I also wanted to see what other people are doing because I don't know if you talk about this to others. The key barriers that people see is I get no interviews. My sector is struggling. Interviews, but no job offer. Um, can't afford financial risks. No motivation. So I get no interviews means your application need some technical assistance, whereas interviews but no offer means the bottleneck is higher up. It's in the pipeline, so it's upstream and it's maybe there's something that we can work on the way that you're presenting yourself and talking about your narrative and answering your questions. So those are two different types of issues in a recruitment process. If you were a tennis player, it will be the difference between you getting into the US Open, qualifying, and being in the semifinals or the finals. Okay. And those are two different things and two different ways of playing. Main concerns. I'm afraid I won't find any work in the next few weeks or months. I seem to be doing pretty well under the circumstances. It's hard to know what to prioritize. My emotions are all over the place. I'm afraid of losing my job in the next few weeks or months. I'm wondering here how much you can relate to all of this, and I just wanted to share that with you because I don't want you to feel alone in your job search. When I work with clients, and also when you sign up for something like a platform like Callings.ai, it's really all about support. It's really about bypassing that Gen X mentality, or I can do this by myself. I don't need your help. But ideally, what you want to do is take the pressure of yourself and not try to reinvent the wheel. There is no need for that. This is a framework. Callings.ai is based on recruitment and selection process. My coaching material is based on the way that recruiters are looking for candidates right now. So why would you try to reinvent the wheel? The thing about all of these processes, there's several tasks to be done, and they're usually done in a specific order. And there's also an etiquette, that I think coaching really helps with that. So take the pressure of yourself in trying to understand all of this. It could be very overwhelming. There's quite a lot of noise out there. You can understand every step of the way what's happening with your application and what you need to do next. That's the thing that I think clients benefit the most when they're working with me, is that like usually they have all these things in their head, and I'm like, no, this is what possibly is happening. So, just understanding how recruitment works, your mindset shift is really important. Yesterday, I was interviewing the top AI guy in Australia, because if you following the news, you probably have seen a lot of AI fodder about, they're going to take your jobs, da, da, da. And I wanted to interview him fast and hopefully put that up for you on the podcast as soon as possible. And the first thing he said was mindset. And I'm like, please tell my audience we did not, we did not discuss this previously, but that mindset shift of, understanding that you need to learn to remain part of your profession, of your to still be considered an expert, right? This is important if you want to still have a job, a full-time job after retirement age, like Mara has asked in her Q&A. It's about that continuous learning and development and that mindset shift where that is part of your professional development, no matter what age. I'm happy to answer questions now, but I think Gary has a few things that he wants to say. Do you want to show things as well? Do you want to share screen?
Yeah, I'll reclaim the host, and then I'll just do a few quick overviews on some tools that might help the people on the
Okay.
webinar. Let's
Can
see
you
if
reclaim
they're
it from your side?
let's see. I just hit reclaim host. Let's see if I
Okay.
have it. Looks like I do. Yeah. Um, so I'm gonna in the Q&A, excuse me, in the chat, I'm gonna put a URL, and that is Callings.ai/Renata. And
Yes.
that will give you guys, anybody who's new to the Callings platform will get, if you use that URL to go and then register a new account, you will get 30 days complimentary access to every feature on the platform. So I'm going to put that to the chat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and just show you a few things. Whoops, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share just a window. Huh. All right, hold on one second here while I figure out what's going on. All right, do you guys see that window? Renata, can you see it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Upload your resume. Yes.
All right. So there's four main functions of Callings.ai that can help you in your job search that Renata has talked about. And I'm going to show you those four really quickly. One of the key things that we do is we help you work on your story and help promote your personal value out to the marketplace. And if I could encapsulate a lot what she talked about, for a job seeker, it's really being able to do that, being able to articulate your value in a way that is in the best interest of the company that is looking to hire. And so we do that in several ways. The first of which is we help you with your resume. And so if you register for the first time on Callings, you will be presented with this screen, which says upload your resume. And when you upload your resume, we will bring it onto our platform. And the first thing we'll do is convert it into a single column, rich text format version of your resume, because we know that those will get through these applicant tracking systems without being garbled. If you want, you can take all the feedback we give you about your resume and then update your existing formatted resume as well. But we build this for you in case you need it. We provide a full assessment for you on your resume. And so it's very difficult for us to know how we project ourselves. That's why mirrors exist, right? We get up in the morning and then we have to take a look in the mirror to see what our hair is like and what our clothes are like. The same is true in this process. It's really helpful to get feedback on the materials and the way you project yourself out into the marketplace, because sometimes it's just small little things that can trip up your candidacy. And so we provide a first impression of your resume. What strengths does it present to you? What red flags might it present to a hiring company? We help express what it says about you, because maybe your resume isn't saying what you think it says. We also do a scorecard on areas where your resume might need improvement. For example, my resume needs more quantifiable achievements. So you can go in and work on your resume and add those capabilities. We also do some peer benchmarking against other folks in your industry and your area, so that you get a sense of how you stand out versus them. And then we have a full AI resume rebuilding tool where you can select from the topics that we recommend that you improve, and we will walk you through using AI and ask you questions, and we'll rebuild and rewrite your resume to improve it. So those are resume tools that come with Callings. We also do an ATS audit on your resume to see that it looks good in terms of getting through the applicant tracking system. Remember, applicant tracking systems, you're going to be competing for every job you apply to with about 250 people. So the first step is you have to be able to get through the basic qualification the ATS does, and they reject people for illegibility. They reject them because the formatting is screwed up, and so they can't get the data out. And so you want to make certain that you get in so that you're seriously considered for who you are. So resume tools is a central part of our platform. When you apply to jobs, we also generate for you tailored resumes for every job that you apply to. So that brings up the second thing that we do in the platform. We offer you a full tracking system, so you don't need to build your own spreadsheet, a full CRM for your job hunt. You can find jobs that we provide to you, and we bring them by matching your resume against millions of jobs and scoring those jobs, and then bringing you the highest rated jobs. This is unique to our platform. It's called job matching, and you can then add those to your tracker. You can also use our extension and add jobs from LinkedIn, Indeed, or you can add them manually if you find one on a hiring site. So we're agnostic about where the jobs come from. We just want them all in one place so that your job hunt can be standardized in one place. We provide searching, sorting, a Kanban view, so you can track your jobs in your tracker by the status or what progress you've made on them. So all that's built in. Um, we also provide details about every job. What's the full job description? What does it look like? We even highlight where you match and don't match this job. Um, and then we also provide a job fit report and a full company report with the latest news. We tailor the resume, as I mentioned, for each job, and so we do that in here. And so we develop that. We give you the option of approving everything that we make changes on. It's also a full word processor, so you can rewrite and put those things in as well. And then we develop a cover letter for you. And again, we want you to have the perfect cover letter, but starting out with not a blank page is a good thing. And so you can prompt and get any changes you want in the cover letter that you like. So we prepare you to apply. And once you apply, as I like to say, congratulations, you are now one of 250 resumes in a stack. The next thing that we do, and this is the second main topic of things that we provide to you, is we provide tailored networking tools for you to help you go and reach out to people. And this is, of course, how you get a job. Networking is how you get a job. 70 to 80% of all successful job hunts statistically have some type of networking. People have to recognize you as a real human being. So we find people who are connected to the different roles in your tracker, and then we give you the ability to learn about them by reading what their LinkedIn profile and other information we found about them says, and then we'll generate an outreach message. And if you can send that to all the people that we find for every job that you apply to, then you're expanding your network by a huge amount, and that's an important goal. So we do that. We have a full interview prep system as well. You can add notes, so everything about your job hunt is in one place. And so resume support, tracking, managing, finding jobs, organizing them and applying to them, and networking to them. We also provide a new feature that just came out this last week, which is an expanded networking feature, which we call My Campaign. And what we do is we help you generate a custom landing page for you that you can send to all your friends, family, colleagues, the people that know you. to remind them of what your value is and to let them know that you're looking for your next role. It's kind of like Kickstarter for your job hunt. And if you send this to just the people that you trust and like, they have the option of, first of all, knowing where you're going. Second of all, it provides your resume right here so they can download it. Um, because the first thing that people say when you say, "Hey, could you help me reach out to somebody?" is, "Would you please send me your resume?" So this website does much more. It pitches you as a valuable commodity, gives the pitch to your friends, family, and contacts, gives your resume to them, and then gives two powerful tools to either reach out to individuals on your behalf or to give a shout out on social media. And so if you click on the intro Jonathan, in this case, button, you can then reach out to any of a number of
Garrett,
people. Yes.
people are saying they can only see half the screen. I can only see half the screen.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
How about now?
half the screen.
In what
So
way
I can
is,
only see like Jonathan Doe, and then you have the little photo of you. So whatever
yeah.
is on the
Yeah, let
left
me
side of that.
let me try and reshare here.
Okay.
That's just Zoom making certain nobody can be successful. How about now? Better?
Yes, better.
Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. Um, so this promotional website for you has AI tools for helping people reach out on your behalf. And so, for example, if somebody wants to introduce me to somebody that they think can help me find a job, they can click on introduce, in this case, Jonathan Doe, and then it will bring up this panel. Hopefully you can see that. And it gives the types of people I want to be introduced to, or they can choose other. And when they do that, it will generate an outreach message for them that they can edit that says, "Hello, I want to introduce you to Jonathan. You know, he did all of these things." And it picks from your background to put in the information that your friend may not off the top of their head be able to respond to. And so this is a way to push you out to them. It also includes your LinkedIn profile. And so if you can get your friends doing this type of outreach for you, you're benefiting from an advertising campaign. They can also do a shout out, which is social media, and it'll generate a social media post for them they can put out there. And you know, as they say, if you post that you're looking for a job, it's desperate. If somebody else posts that you're amazing and somebody should hire you, you know, then that's an advertisement that people like to see. And so I encourage you to try this. This is an important part of networking, is getting the word out. This is quote unquote the passive or community networking approach to getting your friends and family to help you. And of course, you can share this tailored website with people that are out there and looking to hire. So that's another part of Callings that we've just added. We help you generate promotions to your supporters to send this email out. So that's a feature of this tool, and you can promote it yourself on social media. So all new tools around building a campaign to let people know that you're available and promotes the most important part of you, which is your value proposition. The final thing I'll show you is this. We help you tell your story. And so when you're working with a career coach, they often will sit down and ask a lot of questions for you. What we're trying to do is help generate a lot of that first. So when you talk to your career coach, you have all the material. You, all of you on this call, especially because you're all over 40, have had amazing careers. You've accomplished a ton of stuff. The real challenge is, how do you articulate that? And how do you remember that? And so we built this tool, My Insights, to help you with that. It takes your resume and builds a series of questionnaires for you about you. And if you take the time to answer these questions honestly, we will generate the following reports: a goals report that reminds you of what's most important to you. For me, it's roles, responsibilities, and culture more than industry, social impact, or schedule. But for you, it may be different. Knowing where you're going and what your goals are is an important first step. We provide an ideal job report, which is a snapshot of what an ideal job might look like for you. And of course, it's not loading right now. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's not a demo.
Garrett,
Yes.
your Garrett, can you hear me?
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
your voice is a little bit patchy now. Have you noticed?
I can't
Has
notice it.
anybody else noticed? It's glitchy. Tammy has noticed that as well. The voice is glitchy.
How about now?
It's okay now. Let's go talk, say a
Yeah.
full sentence. It just happened all of a sudden that we couldn't
Yeah.
hear some of the words you were saying. It's
It
garbled.
was the
That's a
best of
great word.
times. It was the worst
Garbled.
of times. Now is the winter of my discontent.
Oh wow, look at you.
Okay. So, yeah, I was showing you some of the things that we can help you generate that help you inform about you to tell your story better. So, an ideal job report, for some reason, it wasn't coming up, but I think it was because there's a network problem on my end. We help you generate a what your ideal job might look like, and that helps you to articulate what you're most interested in. And if you don't like this, it means your resume and your answers don't reflect what you in your soul really want, and that helps you
Garrett,
too.
you're garbled again.
Yep. Well, I apologize about that. It's always something with
Oh
these
no,
webinars.
you're
Uh,
garbled again.
yeah, there's nothing I can do about
Glitchy.
it. It's the internet. It's been raining here a lot. I suspect the internet's wonky on my end. Um, I'll just leave
Where?
it like this. Hopefully, you can hear me now.
Yes.
Callings is the most comprehensive job hunt platform on the market. There's dozens and dozens of features. I'll not show you any more of them today, but if you need help understanding and promoting and articulating your brand value, we can help. If you need help networking, we can help. If you need help with your resume, we can help. And if you need help finding, applying, and pursuing and interviewing for jobs, we have tools for that as well. So I encourage you all to try it for free for 30 days. Register at callings.ai/Renata and you'll get 30 days of full access. And then after that, we have very reasonable pricing for you all. And I hope that you got a lot of really great information today about how you can power up your job hunt over 40. It's really about articulating your value, as Renata pointed out, and I know that you all have it. So I hope this helped today, and I'll stop talking and hope the internet will stay good until we finish.
All right. Look, I've been answering many of the questions in the Q&A. I'm now down to, do you want me to continue answering the questions,
Yeah.
Garrett? Is that
Yes,
so
please.
I've
Why
answered
don't
lots of them in the chat. Now I'm down to one from Anonymous that says, you mentioned that some of the older email domains, Hotmail, etc., indicate age, and employing a newer email domain like Gmail would indicate being more current. However, if a 40 plus person puts a picture up on LinkedIn, anyone looking will know that the person is older. It's not about how you look and how old you are, it's how current you are with technology advancement and innovation. So that's what it denotes. It denotes that, well, you still have a Yahoo email account. Nobody has been, creating new Yahoo email accounts since the early 2000s. So that means that you haven't really caught up with that. And there is recent research that I saw last year, and this is more about how you operate in the workplace, and it has to do about people opting to use Chrome or other internet or Bing, or like if you just sign up with the internet browser that comes with your computer rather than you deciding, oh, I actually prefer this other one because Edge is better than Chrome, so I'm going to use Edge. That already signals something about your ability to converse and understand innovation and technology. That's what it means. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's about how you keep up with the workplace environment of a white collar worker. I hope that answers the question. Then there is do you agree, Garrett? Happy for you to step in.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
do. And I noticed that finally I have access to the QA questions again as well. Um, and Bill Mazur says, should we use the word expertise rather than experience? That might be a good hack. Um, I mean, at the highest level, I suspect the companies are not ageist in the sense of, oh no, they're too old. I suspect the bigger issue is they assume that because you've been in the industry for a while that you're expensive. that your experience is costly. I don't think they're afraid that you're not going to do the job, but that's just my personal opinion. But using
Yeah.
expertise
I
is
answered
good.
that question. I think that that is a very good question, and I answered it in the chat, Garrett. You have to be careful with expertise because expertise is what people know you by. If you have already developed a personal brand and you've created that recall, like people have a problem in mind and they think of you immediately. What is that problem? That is your expertise. Is it because you are good at ESG or human rights or project management for mining sector or project management for tech, or what is it that you're good at that your network already knows? That is your expertise. But you come with a lot of experience that goes above and beyond that, that's more, general. So you might have an expertise, but you also know how to lead people, you know how to do business development, or you know how to, implement a specific software or technology. So all of these things are different. So it depends on the context. Um, and I think that people need to sort of understand narrative and how to present themselves in the workplace without worrying so much about age and worrying more about um, the language that recruiters understand and that they want to see in your documentation.
So, sort of follow-up question on that, Renata, that I'd love your thoughts on is the issue of how much of your background and experience you should include on your resume,
Mm.
because that also it denotes age and et cetera. And so maybe do you put every single job you've had for 20 years on, or do you trim the bottom part of the resume listing to show your more relevant experience? I've heard from some other folks that the issue may not necessarily be that you've been in the industry for a long time, but a question of relevance on your older jobs. That experience might not be relevant to what you're applying to today.
Yeah, I think, and you know this well, that, the ATS system will align your job title with the date. So the recency of your experience is important when ATS system is filtering the candidates that will go forward to the next stage of the process, right? So if you are, let's say, a project manager and your recent title was project manager and you've done that last year, then it's most likely that you will be shortlisted than if you had been a project manager 10 years ago. Right, so that's good. The reason why sometimes I keep in my clients' documentation information about that is old, that's over 20 years old, if I want to showcase where they started their career, which then the, identifies their career DNA. So if they started their careers at Ernst Young or Deloitte or McKinsey or a big bank, I want that to be there because it says something about their expertise that then created the rest of their careers, that those sort of graduate programs in the beginning of that career is important. But most of the time, I go all the way down to mid 2000s most of the time. It really depends. Some people swap and change jobs a lot every 3, 4 years. Some people have stayed in one organization forever. So um, we I do it because I'm a career coach to individuals. I work with individuals. I usually take the time to do a bespoke assessment of what I think is best for them. There is one question that I didn't answer. Or maybe a few. How much do actual well-written specific recommendations? Oh, I answered that one. So recommendations on LinkedIn, I just want to make sure that people know I love when people have recommendations on their LinkedIn. Recruiters and headhunters like that too, because it validates the information from your resume, your application, and your LinkedIn profile. But also, if you have, I have seen people that have like 10 recommendations and they have given none. And I'm not happy with that. Like, if you have received 10 recommendations, you have to have given 20. I kid you not. It's a, something, it says something about you as a leader and as a colleague that I think it's important to point out. And it's something even unconscious that recruiters may not be able to explain exactly what it is that doesn't feel right about your LinkedIn profile, but that's something that I think it needs to be done. And it's not paying it back to the people that recommended you, it's paying it forward. So you don't want recommendations that sort of you give one to this person and they give one back to you. That doesn't work. That doesn't validate you. What you need to do is find other people that you've worked for and give them recommendations. I think we answered all. Oh, this last one is this: in this very tough job market, I interviewed with this superstar young firm. I would be the oldest and could do what my supervisor does. How do I pitch myself as great but not overqualified? I also hope I can be in that kind of position that I used to supervise or lead whole teams in doing. Anonymous, I come back to me and tell me if you got that job. This is a hard job to get. If you know that you can do the job of your supervisor, they know that you can do the job and they may not want you as part of the team. It doesn't really make sense unless they are in looking for a successor in the very short term, which is kind of rare. But if they plan on leaving in 6 months' time, then you are an ideal candidate. Other than that, maybe that is not the job for you. Maybe the job for you is the job where you are at the level, the exact level. The thing is, and I've worked with a client in California recently where she really wanted to work for this organization. It was the ideal organization for her, but the job was below, and she knew that. So I said, all right. So we built a whole narrative that would explain why she was applying for this job in the role that was below. I kid you not, she was unhappy in a month and a half. She was pulling her hair out in a month and a half because she wanted to take the lead. She wanted to do this strategic work that her manager was doing, and they were just not in sync about what that strategy should be. She had different ideas, and she was really unhappy not being able to participate, have a seat at the table, and participate in decision making. So just be careful with that. I know it seems counterintuitive, but I answered one of the questions here that I think the easiest route to your next job, if you are in a hurry and you cannot wait, is to go for a similar job that you had in the same industry, in the same sector, right? Not trying to apply below or above you. That is for those who are in urgent need of a job, that is this fastest, easiest way to apply. If you want to change sectors, change cities, move to a different area, that requires more time, even working with a coach. So that's something to think about.
Renata, what do you think about non timeline based resumes, but instead are that are functional?
What do you think about it?
I think everybody will expect a timeline-based resume, and if they
Yep.
can't figure that out, they may just out of hand reject it. Even though conceptually I like the idea, I just think um, you have to wear a tie to a ball, and that's just social convention. And I suspect that a resume with timeline-based information is a social convention, and you can't buck that.
It's such a convention, right? It's so important that we follow convention because recruiters will have a second to look at it. They built ATS that follows that convention. So if you write a resume that doesn't follow that convention, it's not giving you a chance. Even this thing that I said before about the ATS system being built to find the job title and the time you did it, and that needs to be so close together for it to then put you in the next stage of the process. So if you don't do that well, um, most of the time when people book online consultations with me, it's to deal with the fact that the resume is an issue. They're not getting interviews, and it's a technical issue. And working with a platform like yours can really help. But then, if it's still not helping, then a 1 hour consultation with me can really sort of finalize that final tweak that makes the difference. Um, yeah, those are the important conventions, and they are universal. Now, it doesn't matter where you are. Most countries, some people think that, oh, if you're in Germany or if you're in Japan. No, I work with clients everywhere. They all have the same, my same resume, and it works. Yeah.
Well, I think we got most of the questions that I can see in the
I think
Q&A
so.
and in the chat. So we're 15 minutes over, so maybe now is a good time for us to step off the stage and thank everybody for taking their time today to join us to explore this topic. And I just wanted to
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
Renata. You're fantastic. Really like working with you.
Oh, it's lovely. Everyone, please keep in touch. Let's continue our conversations on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. I have a newsletter weekly, so sign up and please keep in touch. I'd love to work with some of you if you're interested in working with me.